Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tour Pro Talks. I'm Genevieve White, a travel and tourism copywriter and coach, and my guest this week is Zakia Moulaoui Guery, the founder of Invisible Cities, an award-winning social enterprise that offers alternative tours to locals and tourists. I'm absolutely delighted to have you with us today. Welcome, Zakia. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity to have a lovely talk. I'm quite happy to be here.
Oh, brilliant. I'm looking forward to hearing all you've got to say and hearing the story behind Invisible Cities. And maybe we could just start off with you explaining the concept behind Invisible Cities for anybody who doesn't know about your social enterprise.
Yes, of course. So we are a social enterprise, and for those who are maybe not quite familiar with the model, is we operate like any other business. We trade and try to make a profit and employ people, but also run as a not-for-profit. So we reinvest all the money generated from our tours into our social mission. So our social mission is we train people who have experienced homelessness to become tour guides of their own city, encouraging for them to share their stories and have their voices heard, when too often people who have experienced homelessness feel that their voices are not heard, they are not seen, and they are invisible. So we want to raise awareness about homelessness, raise awareness about those stories, while providing people with really positive opportunities within travel and tourism, becoming guides, but also beyond that, by maybe looking at further what we call positive destinations, further employment, further courses, collaborations for them to really thrive in the world of travel and tourism. And we run our local tours in Edinburgh, where it all started, because I'm based in Edinburgh. So we started in 2016, but have then expanded to other cities through the UK. So we run exactly the same thing, training people and offering walking tours in Glasgow, in Manchester, York, and Cardiff, and the Scottish borders. That's going to launch a tour soon. And we do exactly the same everywhere. Our tours are usually a mix of history, but also alternative knowledge, social stories, personal stories from the guides if they choose so. And they are designed by the guides themselves. Of course, we have maybe general tours at times, but the most important part for us is the guide stories.
Wow. I mean, I am already just, yeah, I've decided I'm going to come on one of these tours next time I'm in Edinburgh. They sound brilliant. Zakia, can you tell me a little bit about the training process that the guides undergo? I mean, just, roughly, like, how long is it? What areas do you focus on? How does it work? Are they trained in groups? I'm really interested in finding out more about that.
So the training is delivered to anyone who is interested, whether they want to become guides or not. I think one of the big barriers I found when I started was telling people, would you like to become a guide? And for them to be quite intimidated by that. So rather than putting it that way, we're opening up the training to anyone who's experienced homelessness, who may want to learn new skills, make new friends, do something a bit different, learn about the city. And then as part of that process, we will then say, okay, are you considering becoming a guide or not? So you don't have to sign up and be a guide. And unlike other organizations, we train first, and then from the group of people we've trained, we will hire people and employ them. But first the training. And it's usually in groups over a few weeks. It can be 5, 6, 8. It depends on the city, and it depends on how we've designed it. We focus on transferable skills, so public speaking, storytelling, customer service, first aid. We do a lot of one-on-one to kind of look at what people want to talk about, the stories they want to share. And the great thing, I think, is that we ask people from the tourism and travel industry to come and be involved in our training. So I always use this example that in Edinburgh, we work really closely with the Kimpton Hotel, Charlotte Square, and their concierge team, delivers some of their customer service to our guides and trainees. So they're not reinventing the wheel, it's training they have in-house anyway. But they offer us a session to kind of look at what great customer service looks like. So we try to do that in all areas. And then a big part of the training is also learning about our cities. What are the venues? What are the monuments? What are the places we can go to? And feeling like those places belong to us as well. So, I used to hear a lot that a library or a museum was a place where you could use the bathroom, but it wasn't a place where you could learn. It was a bit daunting and kind of a bit of a barrier. So we want to break that down and say, no, it's for everybody. Let's go to the Kelvin Grove Museum. Let's go to this gallery. Let's explore this collection. So we do a lot of that. And we go on a lot of tours with fellow guides as well. So it's a kind of big exploration of what being a guide actually means.
Brilliant. And I mean, as you say, there are so many transferable skills in there as well. It's not just the knowledge that they're gaining about history and all that kind of stuff, but it's the public speaking as well. It's the interaction. It's probably organize, the degree of kind of, all the logistics you have to think about as well when you're doing a tour, isn't it? And then the opportunity to make contacts in the tourism agency as well, as you mentioned, is really excellent as well. I mean, you must have a few success stories. Is there any that you can share with us of people who have, gone through the training and been guides and what it's meant for them in their lives?
Yes, of course. So between all the cities that I mentioned, we trained about 100 and now we're at 135 people. Not all have become guides. As I said, some have become guides and left pretty quickly. So we had a guide in Edinburgh, Angie, who went on to do her own tour, but she moved on to be more of a coach. She was very holistic in her approach to life, and she set up her own thing and is quite successful with that. We've had people go back to school, usually looking at care or going back to getting more pardon me, more general kind of qualifications. We've had a guide from Edinburgh move back up to Aberdeen to reunite with his family, because that's also a very important part of what we do, is looking at the individual goals. And that goal doesn't have to be about your profession. It can be about what makes you happy. And for him, for Angus, it was about being closer, but that move was expensive, it was daunting, it was difficult. So after a few years he managed. We have a guide in York who set up his own social enterprise looking at people's stories and lives in York. So I'm trying to think of others, but it really depends. And because we work on one-on-one, we want to that can be, as I said, as personal as reuniting with your sister, to setting up your own business, to accessing full-time work somewhere else. Having said that, it's not always the case for everybody. We also have people that either don't finish the training or don't after being a guide realize it's not quite for them. So we also try to have opportunities that will fit everybody and directly signpost somebody to a job or another organization, and try to have people volunteer for other charities and social enterprises. So it's very kind of based on the person and their dreams and aspirations.
Very flexible, and it sounds as if there's a positive outcome there, whatever route the person decides to go down, basically. Amazing. Sorry, I've got lots of questions, but just to say hello to everybody who's watching. I think I was so excited, I forgot to greet our audience. So hello, everybody, and welcome. We've already got a comment from Junaid. Hello, Junaid, and if anyone else would like to say hi, please do comment. Hopefully, StreamYard is going to behave itself today, so I'll see your comments. I know I do miss them sometimes, but I'm also checking them on my phone. And please also do feel free to ask questions to Zakia. She's got loads to share, as I'm sure you've already heard. But for now, I'd just like to ask you, Zakia, if you could share the story of how you came to this incredible idea for Invisible Cities.
So people may have noticed I don't come from Scotland. I moved to Scotland when I was 21 from France. And I used to be a teacher. So I moved for teaching French in a school here, and quickly realized teaching wasn't for me. It wasn't the career that I wanted to have. But for several years, I worked with another organization called the Homeless World Cup. Um, that uses football or soccer to support people experiencing homelessness. And the idea is that you have different street soccer projects around the world, and once a year they come together, and once a year they compete for the World Championship title, like the other World Cup, if you want. And once a year it's also organized in a different country. So I came on board when it was in France because the organization needed a French speaker to be able to translate all the time. And that's really when I started working with people, hearing their stories and hearing how they had ended up homeless and why, and their dreams and aspirations again. So all of that combined with events and organizing a world-class international event. So it was a busy time, and for 5 years I was either busy organizing the event or going around the world to listen to people's stories. And every time I would come back home, all of my friends and family were super keen to hear the stories, and they would ask and say, oh, what about this person, and who did you meet on this trip? And so I realized there was a lot of eagerness, I think, for those personal stories, and that was my favorite part as well, meeting different people. But I also realized that unless it's your job, like it was mine, it would be quite awkward to approach somebody and say, so what is your life story? Why did you end up where you are? You know, whether it's somebody you see on the street or so I'd been thinking about that for a long time. And then in 2014, I was diagnosed with cancer, which put a halt onto my work and career, and had to kind of take a step back. And the first kind of gut reaction from me was that I was disappointed that I couldn't travel anymore. And then I thought, okay, maybe travel is not the priority here, but it kind of made me realize how important it was and what a big space it had in my life. And I think the fact that it could be the catalyst for those conversations to happen. So very much from 2014-15 is when I started thinking of my life after the Homeless World Cup and what that would look like. And I got inspiration from a lot of different projects I worked with already, one of them being a Greek project called Shevia, which is the equivalent of Our Big Issues, the street magazine. And they were already thinking of a tour and what that would look like, and how that would work. And I thought, actually, you know what, that's it. I could really do that in Scotland, or at least help with that. So after I spent a bit of time in Greece, came back to Scotland, and in 2016 is when I really started putting it together. So rather than all of this that I've just told you, all these ideas and feelings, and I thought, okay, what could that look like practically speaking, and how would it work? And I was already familiar with the social enterprise model, so I knew this was what I wanted to go, the direction for us. But that's when the kind of work really happened. And I started talking to people about the idea, homelessness organizations and travel organizations. And then the rest is history, as they say. That was 8 years ago. So that's it.
Wow. Absolutely amazing hearing about just how all the different elements slotted together, you know, your experience and, you know, your skills, and how it all sort of came together. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned something there about someone in Greece speaking about a similar project that they'd had an idea for. But I mean, to your knowledge, are there similar organizations to Invisible Cities operating in different countries? And if so, which countries, and how are they different and similar from what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly believe that there is a very unique idea out there. So we, you know, there are a lot of organizations that do similar things than ours. So in Greece, they do walking tours as well. So if you look up Shadia, they are part of the street magazine. So I guess, and a lot of street magazines, street papers may have walking tours as well in Berlin, in Basel, Switzerland as well. So they have a much bigger structure because they'll have the editorial part, running the vendors, and then only a few vendors will have the opportunity or will want the opportunity to be guides. There's a similar organization in Dublin, which apparently I helped with the setup when a few years ago somebody contacted me, and I spent a bit of time talking to them, and he then went on and started. The name escapes me now, but if you Google alternative tours, Dublin, homelessness, you'll find them. There's also a similar organization in London called Unseen Tours that have been operating for a bit longer than us, and which I didn't know about because London is a lot closer than Greece, so I would have gone to London. And we all do things differently. I think in whether the training we provide or the length of time we work with people, and or maybe the alternative side that we take on, I think, or the clients we have, we really want to highlight people's stories, and we do that on things that are maybe not tours, through the media, through social media, which goes beyond the walking tour experience. We have a very lengthy training process, but we also trained a lot more people than some of these organizations because we're in different locations. Mm-hmm. And I always say we don't need more guides employed in each city, we just need different guides. The idea is that if we rotate and give that opportunity to more and more people, so the ones that are currently in place move up and do other things, then new people can come in. So if you look at the team externally, it's always the same 5-6 guides, but it's actually different guides. In Vienna as well, they have a tour called Shades Tour, also a social enterprise. So that would probably be, Shades would probably be the most similar model than ours. And in Barcelona as well, they have a tour. So there is a whole network of us out there. And I think as a traveler, if you're going into any one of these cities, and you're wanting to experience a tour outside of the UK, it's not an Invisible Cities tour yet, but I think there's you could do that in all of those cities by simply going online and booking a ticket with them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear about all these different organizations. If you're watching and you know of a similar organization in your country or in your area, please do let us know. It'd be really interesting to hear. And also, just a quick hello to a couple of people who are watching. It's not coming up on this computer screen, unfortunately, so I'll have to read it off my phone. But hello to Tukie Tours and Travel from Uganda in East Africa. And hello also to Zayan Tours. I'm not sure where you're from, but hello. And do remember to come with any questions you've got for Zakia while we still have time. So Zakia, I think as well, I have noticed on your social media that you get some really amazing customer feedback as well. Can you tell us about some customer feedback that's really sort of stood out for you, or give us a kind of general sense maybe of what customers are saying to you about the tours and their experiences?
Yeah, so I think the guides are doing a great job, obviously, and the feedback is often about how surprised guests are that the guides know so much. So we have to say, well, they are guides, so they should know a lot more than you when you start the tour anyway. But also, I think the one piece of feedback I love the most is that it's like going on a tour with a friend, which is absolutely what we want to do if we're breaking down the stigma around homelessness and showcasing that anybody has a great story to tell. The fact that you think that our guide could be your friend, I think means that we've succeeded somewhere in that process. We've had lovely stories of there was a boy who came on a tour in Edinburgh, I think, and one of our tours is very, very social. So our guide, Sunny, is really passionate about showcasing different projects and how the city works as a kind of caring city as well, not only historically. And the little boy decided that from that he wanted to be a police officer because he wanted to help others. So that was quite sweet, I always think. But I think it's about, the quality and the entertaining side of it that comes back the most, and also how lovely and caring and kind of fun the guides are, and in 2021 we were awarded Best Community Tour in the World by Lonely Planet for their Best in Travel list.
Wow, that's
20,
lovely.
which was great. It was a great opportunity to showcase what we do, how we do it, and it really validated us in the space in travel and having a voice and doing what we do well. But of course, 2021, we were all in lockdown as well. So it was a bit of a strange time when we couldn't really feature all of our tours, but we were talking about our tours a lot. So I think it's that we work with DMCs, event planners, travelers, delegates on tours, and what we try to do is just have this alternative idea that a tour doesn't have to be about facts and dates only. It can also be about personal and human experiences, and I think that's what comes back a lot from the feedback from guests.
I think there's a real growing appetite for that now as well. I mean, I think it's almost like a changing perception of tours, isn't it? Gone are the days when you just expected to be kind of bombarded with lots of dates and places,
Yeah.
because you can get that up, really, can't you? It's the stories and having that personal experience with a guide, and that's what people are really wanting, I think, a lot of the time now.
Yes, I think that was definitely a growing trend before COVID, I think. This kind of conscious traveler who wants to hear the local people stories, have an impact on the ground, and go beyond the Google guide or the postcard, right? They want to know beyond the facts of the monuments and the history. And then I think what COVID did was that it made a lot of people realize that there were so many other people having the same experience and wanted to learn them and meet them. And yeah, I think it's definitely something people are wanting more and more. And we see it in the trend of, local guides versus historical guides. And I think we at Invisible Cities just go one step further, where your local guide has just had a different experience of that city than you would have maybe expected, or that you could hear from other people. Is just what is, and a lot of customers ask, what is the government support in the city? Like, where do people go for food, clothing, things like that? How do people end up homeless? Are you okay? Like, there's a lot of questions I think that people ask because they really just genuinely wanting to know what a city or a country kind of is like for the people who live in it. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just, it must, the people who come on the tours must just get so much out of the experience. And I imagine will then maybe want to go and take another Invisible Cities tour in another, in another location. Does that happen? Do you get quite a lot of, repeat guests?
yeah, it happens. Sometimes it's hard for us to track unless they specifically tell us, but it does happen, and it's quite lovely when we ask people, how did you hear about us? And they say, I did your tour in Edinburgh and now I'm booking the one in Cardiff. But we also have, for example, universities come on tours with us quite a lot, and they might do a trip to another city next time. So they'll come to us for another Invisible Cities tour. Event planners as well, so it's always really, really nice. Or within the same city, people do several of the tours because they're all themed and designed by the guides as well. So you could go on on a music tour in Manchester or on a more kind of political and social tour of Manchester, and you would not get the same stories, experience, and guide. So sometimes people do all of the tours, which is quite fun. We used to run the program where if you did a tour in each of our city, you could win a prize. And you can collect little stamps, fidelity cards type thing. And to date, I only know one person who did that. And but we might bring him back. But it does happen. And as we get more awareness about what we do, it happens more and more.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, that's something I think people are becoming a lot more aware of invisible cities, not just through plaudits from, the Lonely Planet and all the other awards you've won, but you were also kind of notably mentioned recently by Prince Harry, weren't you? And that would have got built up a lot more awareness too.
Yes. So that was a really good, platform for us, which was incredible for him to mention the work that we do as part of one of his speeches. And we'd kind of attended Travel List events when it was hosted in Edinburgh in 2020, I think it was, and then a part of kind of conversations around sustainability and community tourism from our perspective here in the UK. So I think all of these opportunities are great to showcase what we do, but also kind of educate and talk about sustainability in a different way. Every time I attend an event or a conference or a talk, when people talk about sustainability, it's a lot about the environment, which is great and absolutely should be mentioned. But the people aspect is often not that visible or mentioned, and how do you involve communities of people, groups, and especially those who in a city like Edinburgh feel like tourism doesn't involve them. They definitely don't get the money from it. They see the tourists, but they don't feel involved. So how do you do that? So we want to talk about it, whether it's our personal story of Invisible City or not. I think being part of that bigger conversation is really important to us as well.
Absolutely. And there's actually a question now come up, and it's from Junaid, and he's asking, what is a music tour?
So Manchester is renowned for having a great music history with bands and venues that are either super famous for something or have done something different. So Nick's tour kind of takes you on that journey through Manchester of different venues, artists, and places. So he only focuses on bands and artists that he likes. So he also shares his passion for music, and he's also part of different music projects in the city. There is a great choir, for example, in Manchester for people who have experienced homelessness. So we talk about that, so what music means to him in the city of Manchester is his tour.
So lovely. So you're really just getting that whole personalization thing is coming across again, because it's not just music in general, it's building that connection with the tour guide. Okay, I think we are just about out of time, but I've just got one more question for you, Zakia. And I think the people who are watching, tour professionals might be watching this thinking, this all sounds amazing, and they might be wondering what they could do to achieve some kind of social impact in their work. And I just wondered if you could maybe close with giving some advice to people who are just really care and want to make more of a social impact, but maybe aren't sure about how to go about it or what to do.
I think the first thing to do anyway is to figure out what social impact means to you and start with what you care about and what you want to do. And it could be very simple things in your location, in your country, in your city. And how can you involve your operation, your company, your tours with that? Some people decide to start by donating some of the money to causes they care about. I think that's great. You don't have to start with the big stuff, right? Just my first advice is always to start small. and see how you feel with it and how you can then grow it. So what do you care about the most? Is it certain communities? Is it the environment? Is it, I don't know, it could be anything, and that's very personal to you. And then how can you have an impact for that cause? Because I think there are so many problems and issues and challenges that we can easily get lost in everything that happens. And actually, my advice is always make it care and make it valued to you, and because then you'll be passionate about it and you'll get people on board for it. So start with the little things on the issues you care the most about. And I think there is no project that is too small. If you're doing a beach clean, I think that's great. If you're doing, and then what can you do next time so your beach clean is bigger or better or involves more people in your community, and then take it from there. So yeah, think of the little things is my advice.
Brilliant advice. Absolutely brilliant advice. Because I think, the world seems in a bit of a state sometimes and people can feel overwhelmed thinking about what to do. But yeah, building up gradually like that and choosing something you really care about is excellent. Excellent advice. Thank you so much. And thank you, Zakia, for being our guest today. It's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. And I'm sure everybody watching and people who watch the replay as well will feel really inspired by your story. And thanks everybody for watching. And hope to see you all next week on another installment of Tour Pro Talks. Thanks again, Zakia. Have you got any final words to say before we go?
No, please do check us out, invisiblecitys.org. And I'm always very happy to have chats with everybody via LinkedIn or email or things like that. So if a brilliant idea comes to somebody after today or wants to chat about something specific, please do reach out and let me know.
There's already a very late question popped up asking someone from Uganda, Tugje Tours, asking how this could work in Uganda. So I'm not sure if we've got time to talk about that now, or if you want to just go and maybe answer him in the comments. But yeah, that's so sorry, Tugi Tours. I'm not sure what your name is. Just know your business name. But yeah, if you listen to what Zakia was just saying there about maybe starting small and building up, that's probably good advice. And otherwise, I'm sure you could reach out to Zakia
Absolutely.
directly on. Okay, thanks very much, and thank you, Zakia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.